what's going on, everybody? Hopefully the sound isn't... Hopefully you're not picking up this big box fan that I have right next to me blowing at my face. During the sound checks that I did before, you couldn't really hear it that much. So hopefully it's not too bad now. But it's incredibly hot in my office. And just so everyone knows, no, I'm not in the basement. I'm in the office. There's the front. Here's the back. And I've moved because, see, I had this bright idea. So I guess I got to give a little bit of background for everyone. My name is Steve. The show is called The Rational American. We've actually been live for over an hour on Citizen Stringer showing the Donald Trump speech in Washington, D.C., but that we didn't air that on social media because, well, it's Donald Trump and you can't air it anywhere. Someone said you could barely hear it. Cool. Well, I'm glad. Hopefully my voice is okay. And yes, you got to deal with it for a little bit, because last week when the heat wave started, I realized that the air in my office wasn't working. You know, the cold air wasn't working. So I was trying to figure out what was going on with it. And I thought maybe it was the filter. The filter was quite dirty. It turned out, you know, that wasn't it. I replaced the filters in the air conditioner or in the inlet or whatever you call it, and that didn't work. So finally I had to call the landlord for the office space because unlike my house where I'm responsible for all repairs, I'm not doing a damn thing for this office. So I called the landlord, and my landlord is really, really good. They own a lot of commercial property around this area, but the one thing I got to say about them without saying who they are is when there's an issue, they immediately fix it, like immediately. And I've never had a landlord like that. So I called them and I was like, hey, the air's not working and it's 90 degrees in my office right now. And because I have, $50,000 worth of electronics in the office, from cameras and everything else, it was a problem. So we ended up shutting off all the electronics throughout, the entire office. Everything was off. And it just so happened it worked because I was going on vacation anyway. A little camping trip with my family, and that was a shit show. I'll talk about that too. And yesterday an AC guy finally came to fix it. And shout out to that good dude and thank you for your service. But they couldn't fix it because they thought it was a condenser, I guess. A condenser is kind of like a starter motor for the unit up on the roof. And so they replaced that because that was bad. But then they realized the fan that circulates on top of the AC unit, that was also no good. Typically they have what's called a rescue fan, but they didn't have one that was the appropriate size to fit on the air handler up there, or not the handler, the air conditioner up there. And so yeah, they had to order it. And of course, it's probably coming from China, and like everything, they don't have it in stock anywhere. And so they're hoping by the end of the week. So right now what I'm doing is I moved into this room. I took the fan and I figured this is where I print all the shirts, and this is where I do all the cups. You can see them back behind there. I'm going to make the picture a little bit better. All the shipping boxes back there. But I moved in this room thinking it's darker and it would be cooler. And yeah, it's not. It's hot as hell in here. And I've been working around here because, whenever you move electronics, it takes forever to figure out the cabling again. And then another couple of hours to figure out the audio because you didn't mark any of the cables, like normal. So that's what I'm doing now. And we're just waiting for the people to come in and fix that fan that's on the AC unit. I guess what it does, it sucks in air from outside, I guess. I don't really know how it works. And then I guess it cools it, and then it comes back up and blah, blah, blah. So long story short, it's not the air handler. It's not the expensive thing. It's just a fan, but they just don't have it, and they don't have it in stock. So I'm screwed. And I did look. I saw someone on YouTube ask why not get a portable AC. I did look at Lowe's to see about a portable AC. For one, they're kind of expensive to use just for a couple of days. Secondly, they need to be vented, and there's no windows in this room or even where the computer was before. There's no windows unless I go to the front of the store, with a long duct or something like that. And I could have moved everything to the back of the office and ran a fan through that window, but then we'd have all that noise, and I decided that I was just going to tough it out and complain to you guys about it. So not really toughing it out, but yeah. And then I went on a mini vacation, a weekend camping trip with the wife and the kids and the dogs. And that was really good. The only problem with that was that we had a massive storm on Saturday night, which knocked out power. to our to the entire campground, which was a problem because it was 100 degrees. And my generator did work. The onboard generator, I forgot my backup generator because typically I bring another generator. And I forgot that at home. And yeah, so it struggled. It struggled. Oh, and then that air conditioner during the day on Saturday froze over. So I had to shut it off for like 3 hours. So we actually just jumped in the car and drove around in like Western Pennsylvania for a couple hours trying to let that defrost. And we had dogs. Normally we would have just went to the pool, but our dogs stay in the RV when we're not there. And they obviously can't be in there if there's no air. So yeah, it was a pain in the ass, but altogether a lot of good family time. We're actually doing another camping trip, not this weekend, but the upcoming weekend, where we're going south this time to a really nice campground, it looks like. And we're going to chill out, for my wife's birthday weekend and before school starts and all that stuff. So yeah, it's been relatively interesting, very tiring. But yeah, it's been fun. Someone said go grab an evaporative cooler, the fan where you add water, and they work great. Don't have to be vented. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna fix it. I'll just tough it out. You know what I mean? Worst case scenario. See, like now I have all these ideas because I can't go live 24/7 because it's when I have all these lights on because I got a light over here and I got a light over here, and then the big lights are shut off. It's hot. It's just hot, and I sound like a complainer, but. Yeah. Someone said you have a backup generator and you forgot it. Yeah, because it was in the coffee trailer. But long story short, we figured it all out. Someone said, would you consider a mini split system? A mini split doesn't. This isn't my building. For one, this is an office building. We're right on Main Street. And secondly, it's not my building, so I'm not doing anything. I'm responsible for everything inside. So like. I'm thinking about putting up another wall and closing off the front and using this back room as an office / storage for someone else when I do hire. But yeah, it's crazy. Just everything else is, life is what it is, But anyway, in terms of news and stuff for the past couple of days, you've probably heard there were a ton of mass shootings like always. I think more mass shootings than ever, than any other. I think we had 24 mass shootings, over a dozen dead. Over 100 injured as a result of those mass shootings. Mainstream media doesn't cover any of them really because it doesn't fit their agenda. We've talked about this. That's the problem with doing this show is I fucking hate this shit now. Like when we just watched Donald Trump's speech, and everyone tomorrow it'll be available on citizenstringer.com for free or citizenstringer.tv for free. You don't have to have a membership to watch it. Because I think it was a good speech. I think he was, in the beginning of it, I was like, wow, this is different. Because it wasn't like a rally speech where he was all energetic in the beginning. It was, he had pretty dire, ominous warnings for society. And then he got back into his normal, the same speech that you hear at every single rally about the trans this and the weightlifters going, all the same stuff that he's talked about, which is great. It's all true, but when you've heard it 15 times, but the whole beginning of his speech, like I really suggest people watch it because it was pretty interesting. There's rumors going around of a panel discussion tonight between me, Oreo Express, and other people. That's not happening, especially not tonight. I didn't even know about this until I got a bunch of messages, and then I spoke to Primetime Patriot, and I've been in here all day. I'm sweating my ass off. So I told Primetime if he wants to get it scheduled, he can do it for either tomorrow night or maybe Thursday night. But my son has football tonight, so I'm going to end up, leave. I'm leaving late. I was supposed to leave at 5. But I knew you guys needed your little Steve fix. So I decided to go live. And I'm just going straight back there, But yeah, did Trump have a rally today? No, he was speaking at America First Agenda Summit, which was in Washington, D.C. Now, there were some, here's the thing. The 1776 group, my intention on covering it wasn't in, I didn't want to demolish the group. You know what I mean? That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted the pedophiles not to be a part of the group, and I wanted the people that were enabling the pedophiles to not be part of the group because I wanted to stand by and support that group, but I couldn't do it if they're supporting pedophiles. It's just, I'm sorry, patriots, you're not a patriot if you're a pedophile. Or you're not a patriot if you ever were a pedophile, and especially if you're a registered sex offender. And to be honest, you're always a pedophile if you once were a pedophile. You can't change. There's no rehabilitation for those scumbags. So I was really surprised that this group was allowing it. So I wrote an article on it. I made a couple of videos. Oreo Express, started doing his Nancy shit. And that's what I'm just calling it, just him being a bitch. And I have nothing against Oreo Express. I really don't. If the guy's out there doing his thing and I have no problem. I don't care how much money he's making. I heard that come up in this interview that was done yesterday. It's on Oreo Express's page. People can watch it. It starts I don't know, maybe 40 minutes into it. Primetime Patriot jumps on there, asks him a lot of targeted questions about the pedophile, but then he starts into financial shit. And I don't care how much Oreo Express makes. I don't care how much he donates. I don't care fucking anything about that dude, But the problem is that there are pedophiles amongst them. And what the major complaint is that everybody has is that they seem to be apologizing for that behavior. You know what I mean? And I know right now, or maybe not right now, but earlier today, there were people out that were counter protesting. And I want to be perfectly clear, because I know those people watch my show too. If you align yourself with the left in order to protest the right because they have pedophiles there, think again. Do you know what I mean? That's not patriotic at all. You know what I mean? And apparently some of these people, patriots, were going out and protesting with leftists against the 1776 restoration movement and blah, blah. Dude, it's like high school drama, except not high school. This has to do with protests and freedoms and all that stuff. It's so stupid. But apparently everyone's just apologizing. Everyone's apologizing for the fact that pedophiles are being allowed in this group, and which it doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean? And I understand why the streamers and everything weren't really talking about it as much, because, well, then they're going to get ostracized by the group that they're there to film. I know Oreo Express isn't going to talk about it all the time, not because he has, he's a pedophile apologist. No, because if he was to speak out and say, yeah, it's fucked up that they got pedophiles here, he's no longer going to get those special lunch dinners with Santa where they hold hands under a tent. He's not going to get those anymore, because then he's going to be criticizing the group. That's why all the streamers that were part of that group didn't say shit, really. Because they needed to be out there filming, because how else are we going to know any of this is going on? You know what I mean? So think of it from it's kind of a catch-22 for the streamers, the truly independent ones, because then what do? Do they tell everybody about these pedophiles and how Santa, David Riddell, is allowing pedophiles to be amongst children in the National Mall, or even in a camp in Bunker, West Virginia? Or do they address it real quick, shut off all communication about it, and then continue covering the 1776 restoration movement, what it should be if there weren't pedophiles? And I think that's what they were doing. And I know I sound like I'm flipping a switch here. I personally think Oreo Express, I don't know him at all. Never, well, I bumped into him, but he doesn't say shit when you're in person, even though he says I never go out, but I've been at different events with him, but that's fine. He doesn't say shit, but he's a big social media guy. Fine, good, more power to him. You know what I mean? All these people want to, egg this on. They'll be like, oh, Steve's talking shit about you. I'm not, actually. I'm not talking shit about Oreo Express. Sure, yes. Did I make a shirt making fun of him and call him George Michael? Fuck yeah, because he bitches all the time on his live stream. And I donated all that money to charity. That's just what I do. That's just who I am and what I've been doing for a long time. But like I was saying, I don't have anything against him. I would love to be able to have this quorum with him where we all sit down, and he's in California now, so it's not like I'll take him to dinner. I'll even pay for it. When he gets back to Washington, D.C., if he's ever coming, because I live right outside of D.C. If he's ever coming, well, I'm like halfway in between Bunker and D.C., bud. So I'm like less than an hour from where, the camp. If you want to go to dinner, cameras are cameras off. I don't give a fuck. And then you could tell me about how you're actually sitting there. So, and here's the, see, I'm walking in circles right now because now I'm getting pissed again because there's a difference between someone that is live streaming and someone that's an activist. Because when you start being an activist and you're being an activist for a group that has, pedophiles in it, then you are being a pedophile apologist. So I am talking in circles. Oreo Express, by cooking dinner for pedophiles, would be enabling. Wouldn't you call that enabling? Like, we all know Oreo Express made dinners. I saw him cook on his live stream, made dinners, and gave those dinners out to the protesters. If he gave one of those dinners to, Bandit, the Marcus guy, one of the pedophile, or the Frank one, the other pedophile, if he gave dinners to him, wouldn't he be an enabler? Wouldn't he be like, So it's the whole fucking thing. Like, I don't like these social media shits. Like, I jumped into a fake argument with the Quartering the other day on Twitter to try to start something just to sell coffee, just to start shit. But I don't do these back and forths. And a lot of the streamers have been trying to get me to do it for a long time. You may, obviously the Antifa streamers from Portland and Seattle, they tried hard. But then you had, Patriot streamers like Behind Enemy Lines that tried to talk shit, and all these other people. I don't really do it because to me, that's like high school shit. I'm not really good at, going back and forth and just fucking arguing with people over nonsense. I firmly said that the only way I would support the 1776 restoration movement, and this was a couple of weeks ago, and I said it both on stream and to their fucking fake ass leadership, who apparently aren't leadership, the two women from the base camp, Mama something or fucking someone else, and I have their emails too. If people want to say, "Oh, I never talked to them," because I have their email. But when I talked to them, I said the only way I'd ever support it is if you put out a public, press release stating that you kicked out convicted pedophiles. Because here's the thing: if you're holding fireworks displays or you're holding special events on the weekend and you're inviting the general public, children are going to be there. And if you have an adult, whether you have a permission slip or not, which you don't, if you have a permission slip for an adult to be around children as long as he's supervised, the person's not fucking safe, and that person shouldn't be around kids. You know what I mean? And anybody, and here's where this whole shit started, because my firm belief is that anybody that supports a pedophile, whether it's financially, defends them, and here's the thing: Oreo Express, I've never really heard him talk about Marcus, but because I don't really watch his show, someone sent me the interview thing from last night, so I watched that, but I don't really watch his show enough to know if he's talked about this, Bandit, the pedophile, or any. I don't fucking care. You know what I mean? And to be honest, Oreo Express fucking annoys me. Listening to his voice, listening to how he talks about God, but then in the same instance, he'll fucking objectify women and shit like that. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And so I don't pay attention. So maybe he has publicly stated his feelings about Marcus, but then at the same time, how do you, and maybe that's just something I lack in terms of independent journalism, how do you be neutral when you're interviewing or even existing around in the same space as someone that molests children? I can't imagine, especially as a dad, I can't imagine it. You know what I mean? So to me, and then Oreo Express also says that he's not a live streamer in that instance. He's an activist. He quit a $100,000 a year job to go be an activist. So if you're being an activist and not a live streamer, therefore you are you're advocating for pedophiles based on it, because let's be honest, to me, the 1776 restoration movement is a pedophile movement. Because if you are saying that pedophiles deserve the same rights as me, I disagree with you 100%. I disagree. And I don't give a fuck if the pedophiles are the most patriotic people in the world. They are scum, deserve not to exist. That is my firm belief, and I'm never going to apologize for it just because someone gets offended. But if Oreo Express wants to have an interview or a quorum or whatever the fuck they're calling it, I'm more than willing to have a conversation with him. Whether it's on stream or off stream. My shit's fucking public. My store is public. Everything's public. I just don't suggest showing up unannounced. You're liable to catch some lead. But, call me, send me a message. I'm willing to have a discussion with him. But then again, it's not going to be what you want. because they can argue and say, well, Santa says he has a permission slip. Well, and my firm belief is that, okay, so you heard third party that someone had a permission slip from his parole officer. I spoke to his parole officer, and the permission slip didn't exist. He was permitted to participate in social gatherings, things to build his social, things, as long as he's completely supervised by an adult whenever he's around children. That is what they wrote. They had no knowledge whatsoever that he was participating in any sort of demonstrations or political protests or anything like that. They had no knowledge of that, and the letter that was sent, according to his PO and her supervisor, the letter that was sent was not addressed to Santa. It was a blanket thing that he used in order to be able to go somewhere, just to exist, because he's a pedophile and he needs to be supervised around children. So he had a letter that said, in case he's ever stopped by police while he's at a grocery store and there's police there, he has a letter to say, I'm allowed to be here. That's the letter that David Riddell says in the conversation he had with the PO. And I'll be honest, I asked the PO, and that's why I ended up speaking to the supervisor, because I could not believe that the PO, I think it was Monroe County or whatever, and it's all public record. Everybody could find her PO and call her and speak to the supervisors as well. Everybody can do it. It's public. That's why I was able to do it super easy. When I spoke to the supervisor, they said that they again supervise, because I asked, is it standard operating procedure to provide a letter of authorization, essentially, to allow a level 3 sex offender out in public, in other children across state lines, as long as they're being supervised for an adult? And he said, yeah, they issue those letters all the time. And I couldn't fucking believe it. I couldn't believe it. But it wasn't, it wasn't addressed to David Riddell, and that's what I've stated, 100%. We don't report bullshit here. You know what I mean? And we typically don't report anything unless we have it verified 1,000,000 times. But the thing about it is, fucking We the People's tattooed on my arm, so no one's gonna call me a fake ass patriot or anything like that because I don't support one group. I also don't support people that call themselves patriots because the pedophiles, or the group that supports pedophiles allegedly, or not allegedly, apparently, is protesting on one side, that you go and join Antifa and leftists holding Biden flags. Fuck that. That's not patriotic either. You know what I mean? And they have all these fake-ass security guards that are wearing these red shirts now that say 1776 Restoration Movement Security. Okay. And they had to, because they actually did pull a permit. It's permit number 22-1430. So they're protesting on the National Mall, but they have a lot of things they're not allowed to do that they're doing. But again, I'm not trying to call them and get them in trouble. I don't give a fuck anymore about this group, and I don't support them. I support what they aimed at, what the aim was. It's kind of like Black Lives Matter, right? I don't support Black Lives Matter, the movement or the organization, well, because they're frauds, And, well, it turns out they also support pedophiles as well. Isn't that weird? But but the movement in itself, and I've talked about this 1,000,000 times, I support the Black Lives Matter movement because we have people that feel like they're being marginalized, people that feel, whether or not it's true, that they're being killed disproportionately more by police, which, if they actually look at the facts, they'll find out they're being disproportionately killed more by their own race than anybody else. But those are just numbers and facts that nobody likes to pay attention to. It's the same thing. I'm the type of person that feels, as an American, it is my duty, if someone feels that they're being marginalized because of race, skin color, sex, sexual preference or anything, then it's my duty as an American to try to fix some of those things. Some things are beyond repair, and I'm not going to fucking understand. You know what I mean? But I'll be acceptant, to a certain point. But it's our job as Americans to stand up for people, whether or not what they feel like. But here's the difference. Pedophiles don't exist. They do exist, but they don't exist in my frame of human. Yeah, and here's why. Because pedophiles should not exist. You know what I mean? They don't deserve any rights. They don't deserve to walk or get dressed or wake up every day. That's my personal opinion on it, and it's not going to change just because some guy that streams has a difference of opinion. You know what I mean? And that's my belief about it. You know, so while I supported what 1776 restoration movement is the initial goals or whatever they say, but then again today they're walking around and yelling at people. Oh, you're wearing a mask. You don't need to wear that mask. Fuck you. You're out there advocating for your freedoms, right? And then you're trying to encroach on other people's by telling them not to wear a mask. Who fucking cares if they're wearing a mask? If they're wearing a mask, does that affect you? And so like when they do shit like that today, I've always said that the 1776 restoration movement that's currently in DC, in Washington, DC, is not a good representation of people that, you know, believe in, you know, patriots, people that believe, and patriots an overused word. I try not to use it to describe myself because it's fucking, there's so many people that call themselves patriots and I disagree, you know, but who cares if someone's wearing a mask? I heard several times in the live feed today, you know, one of these guys wearing 1776 restoration security, the red t-shirt, that they're yelling at people for wearing masks, saying, you know, you don't need to wear that mask anymore. Oh, it's not going to save you from anything. Who fucking cares? Who cares? It's like me walking up to him and being like, hey, you're wearing a security shirt. You are not security. I could take that shirt off you quicker than shit. They could wear whatever the fuck they want. You know what I mean? If someone wants to wear a mask, it doesn't offend me. It only offends me when I'm being told I have to wear a mask and then I have to politely say, go fuck yourself. That's my choice. Just as it's their choice to go and wear a mask. I don't understand why. And they say that's a good representation, right? So this group, they're wondering why so many other patriots aren't joining them in the National Mall. It's because of that. It's because of the fact that every time you turn on a feed, you can't tell whether you're looking at a homeless camera, you know, showing homeless people in Washington, D.C. or a protest. They look the same. The only difference is some people are using American flags to hold up and other people are using them as blankets. You can't tell the difference. You know, you can't. It's just, it's crazy. It's crazy to me, you know? Someone said it's not complicated. How did these idiots see? I don't understand that either. Because, you know, Primetime Patriot, and if you guys didn't listen to the interview that Primetime Patriot did yesterday on Oreo Express's channel, listen to it because it's good. Primetime really went into it deep. You know what I mean? So he went further. He was going into sole proprietorship for David Riddell and whether or not he was, you know, stealing the money, all that shit. I don't give two fucks about that. I've never cared about it. I didn't care about it when it was the People's Convoy. I don't care about it now. Because if people are so stupid to give money to a group, you are giving up your money in any chance at saying what that money's for. You know what I mean? So if you're giving money to somebody, even if it's under false pretenses, I mean, that's a thing for each individual donor. I never donated to 1776 Restoration Movement, so I could give two fucks where the money goes. I don't care if David Riddell is paying off his truck notes or his mortgage. I don't care. It doesn't affect me. Nor do I care how much Oreo Express is making. I don't care if he's making 15, 20 grand a month. I'm not jealous of it. I don't fucking care. You know what I mean? And a lot of time yesterday in that interview was spent on that. When it came to the pedophile stuff, which Primetime opened up with his initial question, Oreo Express just flat out said, well, that's not my choice. Fuck, it's not. Because if you call yourself an activist, and you call instead of a live streamer and you're there protesting for everybody else, it's definitely your choice to allow those type of people to stand next to you and protest with you. And if you allow those types of people to stand there and protest next with you, then you are an enabler of that person. You know, and that's my belief, and it's not going to change. You know, unfortunately, it's not. You know, someone said Steve always threats, and I'm one turning him in. I don't know what that means. You know, but it's crazy. It's crazy. Someone said, scary thing is I've seen streamers on Twitch advocate for the rights of pedos. Yeah. Yeah. You know what's really crazy to me, too? Because that's another good point. The left, and here's the thing, is Oreo Express and all these other people, the people that are part of this 1776 restoration movement, will chastise people that are being critical of them for allowing pedophiles in, saying that, oh, well, they had to take a plea. Well, you don't take a fucking plea with a 20-year sentence for molesting a child unless you did it and you're getting a deal. That's exactly what happened. Not David Riddell, the Marcus guy, the AKA Bandit, that guy had 7 counts. He pled guilty to 2 felonies for abusing a child. and spent several years in prison, and he's under judicial restraint probation for years and years and years. So anybody that wants to say, well, that person is a good person, you're fucking scummy. They say, oh, it had to do with the ugly divorce. Okay, I don't give a shit. My parents had an ugly divorce, and I can tell you there were no accusations of any of that. I've heard the excuse, well, oh, the reason everyone's so bent up about that is because maybe they were abused as kids. Nope. I wasn't abused as a kid. I had the shit kicked out of me as a kid, but I was never sexually abused. I just don't like pedophiles. Like, it's as simple as that. They are scum. They are, and here's again, Oreo Express and all your little fucking minions. There's a difference between someone who abuses a child younger than 14 and a kid that gets caught up having a sexual relationship with a 15-year-old when he's 17. And everyone could say, well, oh, there's more to it than that. I knew a kid that's now in the Marines. He's been in the Marines for like 16 years. That was actually locked up for that. That he was 17, his girlfriend was 15, he turned 18. And the next day he went off to boot camp for the Marine Corps. He was arrested at boot camp, charged. He ended up doing a year, and then he filed and appealed and all this shit and got his record expunged and or sealed or pardoned or whatever, and then joined the Marine Corps again after waiting like 5 years, and now he's been in the Marines forever. All for having a relationship with a younger person. Okay, there's a difference there between a 40 or 50-year-old man abusing a child younger than 14 and someone that's in a relationship with someone and they got caught by age. You know what I mean? And to be honest, it's still not right. Okay, like I'm not apologizing for it. It's still not right. You know, when I was in high school, I didn't have girlfriends that were freshmen. When I was a senior or junior, you know, it's just not right. But they're different. They're different. That's why the sentencing guidelines and everything are different. So everyone can say all that shit, you know, and try to, you know, bring up mods and all that stuff. It doesn't, you know, I know what goes on. You know what I mean? Someone said, yeah, my son's friend is on the registry for life because he was 19 when he dated a 15-year-old. See, but that's wrong. There's a difference between a 17 and a 15-year-old and a 19 and a 15-year-old. I think a 19-year-old dating a 15-year-old, there's something fucked wrong with that 19-year-old. Do you understand? There's a difference because you could be off like that could be a sophomore dating a freshman. Do you know what I mean? Depending on if the freshman entered late or sophomore entered late or something like that. But you know what I'm saying. Someone said we had a guy in the USS Ronald Reagan that had a younger girlfriend. They grew up together, and he got busted once he turned 18, kicked him right out of the military. Yeah, this kid that I know, he fought for so long. Like, he fought. Like, and he was a good kid. And he fought. He hired lawyers. His family hired lawyers. He worked, like, 6 jobs to pay the lawyers. And he won because he's like, this is bullshit. And it had to do with, like, the parents' influence, and that's why they were able to get him. But you know, it is what it is. But they're different things. You know, they're different things. They're different from a 17-year-old having a relationship and not even being 18. A 17-year-old having a relationship with a 15-year-old and a 50-year-old that molests a child younger than 14. So anyone that wants to try to talk about that and say how they're similar, they're not at all. You know what I mean? And so I know a lot of people are trying to talk shit about us, you know, as Citizen Stringer, you know, and good luck with that shit. Because it's not like, oh, Steve didn't know this. Yeah, you know, and it's not any of nobody that works with me either. So that's the craziest thing. People are just silly. But yeah, it is what it is, man. People are just sad. People are just sad. You know what I mean? They're just sad. And this group, the 1776 Restoration Movement, while they may have had good intentions, they are kind of just bundled into this sad mix of bullshit now. You know what I mean? And any of the people that are going out there and calling themselves activists instead of, you know, live streamers or whatever, they're just as culpable as the person, you know, as the people that are apologizing for that kind of behavior, in my opinion. And opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. That's my opinion. You know, and it's not going to change. There's nothing that anybody's going to be able to say that's going to be like, oh, Steve, and where I'm going to be like, oh, you know what? You made a valid point. No, because you're still a scumbag. If you literally stand next to someone without assaulting them, then you're a scumbag. Do you know what I mean? If you stand next to someone that assaulted children without assaulting them yourself, knowing that they assaulted children, then you're not. You certainly don't call yourself a patriot. But yeah. Does that make sense? I think that does make sense, you know? Someone said there's a big difference in a 5-year swing in ages. Yeah, my wife is a year younger than me. Actually, she's 14 months younger than me. So we get to this period in life where I 2 years, and I take advantage. I'm like, she calls me old man and shit. Like, you know, it's funny. And I always say, I'm getting old. Someone said the entire world is under weather modification controlling. Yeah, I have no idea what you're fucking talking about with that. I'm not saying that what you're saying isn't true. I'm just saying I have no idea what you're talking about. Everyone has some stink more than others. All right. Anyway, so my son has a football practice. Like I said, I was going to end this live stream. I was going to do a show from 4 to 5 today and then do something later. But because we were watching Donald Trump's speech on Citizen Stringer, that carried over, started live. What I'm going to start doing every single day, if you don't have a membership to citizenstringer.com or citizenstringer.tv, you need to get one. Because every day I'm going to go over there after the show and I'm going to do what I'm calling a wrap-up. Tomorrow I'm going to make like a great a thing. The link is in the chat. You could join, be a monthly, lifetime, or annual member over there. Every day I'm going to do a wrap-up show with a smaller audience so I can interact with the chat a little bit more. I'm also going to be putting a lot of members-only footage and things. Because like I said, I'm kind of taking a different approach to how I've been doing things. A lot. This show, when I finally get air in here and I can actually work and be functional, this show is going to change because it's going to be broken up into segments. Some segment I may be walking around outside. It may be recorded. You know, it'll always be broadcast live. But you get what I'm saying. And then Citizen Stringer TV is going to be its own. I'm going to be building. I'm going to change the trailer that we have into like I guess the easiest way. Have you ever seen the toy hauler? Like campers. So I'm going to make like a toy hauler, but it's not going to be a toy hauler. It's going to be a mobile coffee shop / camper. So when we do the further events with the trailer, I could do it. Plus, I think it'll be a good project so you guys can all see. And my son may be the cameraman. I'm trying to get him to learn to use a gimbal and all that stuff so he can do some of that. Yeah, so we're going to be doing a lot more. So make sure you go over to citizenstringer.tv/join. Become a member over there. If you are a member or you once were a member or a founding member or one of our original founding members, you got to just send me an email and I'll look it up and make sure you were, and then I'll give you a free membership. And, well, not free, but, till May of 2023. And if you're a lifetime member and stuff, and then you can watch on our apps. There's a chat on there, and then we'll have more videos. Like the Donald Trump speech from tonight will be uploaded tomorrow. This short version of the show, plus all of our ending, the wrap-up show will be available. And you could always watch, if you don't have the money or whatever, you could do the wrap-up show. Just watch it on citizenstringer.tv for free the next day. The whole thing will be up there, and you'll always be able to watch it. But yeah, go over there at citizenstringer.com or citizenstringer.tv/join. You guys want to type that in the chat for me? That would be awesome. And then, yeah, we'll go from there. Email is social@citizenstringer.com. And I'll get that fixed. Also, every week, if you watch on YouTube, become a member. I'm going to be doing member-only streams on every single platform. Facebook, YouTube, everything. Because here's the thing. We got to generate revenue in order to keep doing the live stream, so I'm going to take advantage of the platform. So, and every members-only thing on Citizen Stringer, well, everything, like a YouTube special that's for members only will also air on Citizen Stringer. That Citizen Stringer gets access to everything. Stacy Michelle said, I'm an OG from a few years ago. Yeah, you just need to listen to the instructions. And just send me an email, and we'll get it figured out. Only I can do it. April can't do it, and it's a pain in the ass. So typically I do it when I'm live. Like tomorrow, if we have any hearings, just go over to citizenstringer.tv, click on where it says watch live. And then if I happen to be in the chat, the viewers will tell you, the people that are watching in that chat, they'll tell you and they'll say blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I only have a few minutes before Santilli comes on at 6 over on Citizen Stringer. So I'm going to end the live feeds on social media. I will see everybody tomorrow on I'll be live at around 4 o'clock, unless there's some hearings during the day, and then I'll show those. But, yeah, we'll see ya. And this may cut off earlier because